Story starts in the gates of hell were open. The world fell. Monsters emerged from those gates, causing havoc in the world. Only a few humans began to awaken a supernatural power. They are known as the saviors of humanity, also called players. Our MC of this story is a F-rank player, the great steel emperor called Lee Hyun-wook. He was called the last savior of humanity. But at this moment, he is just a soldier of the anti-monster troop, AMT, a group where all players who have awakened their skills are required to serve. At the AMT shooting range, he is being punished together with the other soldiers. As it turns out, they are being punished for losing 9 spent bullet casing. As our MC manipulated another bullet into his mouth discreetly, it is apparent that he is the culprit for the missing cartridges. Upon consuming the bullet, Hyun-wook received a notification from the system that the weight of metal that he can manipulate increased to 300 grams. He wondered how he ended up in the army for the second time. In the final battle during the past life, the world was in chaos and everyone in the city was dead. In the end, it wasn't the monsters that killed them all, but other players. As the mastermind looked down at the last hero, the defeated Great Steel Emperor, the mastermind removed his mask to reveal his face. He told Hyun-wook that they are divine beings that judge humanity as his fellow teammates surrounded Hyun-wook, but Hyun-wook said they are just plain villains. He said if he had more time to grow stronger, he would defeat all of them easily. The mastermind said even if he knew earlier, F-rank like him would make no differences. As another villain walked towards Hyun-wook with his giant sledgehammer, Hyun-wook called out the mastermind's name, Gordon Tracy, just as the hammer was swung at him, ending his life. Hyun-wook did not expect himself to regress like in the Manhwa. Upon consumption of the bullet, the system informed him that it will take some time to absorb the metal. He realized that his skills have all returned to the starting point, but he hated that he was back at the army again as he suffered through the rest of the punishment. As the various squads began to queue for the cookhouse for lunch, the instructor called for Hyun-wook's squad, the standby squad. He told Hyun-wook that they need to complete a task before they can eat. Hyun-wook said that they just came back from training. He then remembered who this person was. His name is Oh Sang-guk, the human trash of the army. Sang-guk said that the F-rank support squad is useless and should volunteer to do more work to help the combat squad. His treatment toward the support squad is because it is known that an F-class is unable to grow and become stronger. He continued to berate Hyun-wook, attracting the attention of the surrounding crowd. Noting Hyun-wook's defiance, Sang-guk activated his spell, asking if Hyun-wook wishes to challenge him, who is a deranked. In a twist of events, Hyun-wook accepted the request to do the task, but asked to be fed first, catching Sang-guk by surprise. Hyun-wook reminded him that everyone is watching them, and he wouldn't want to be known as being abusive if he ever becomes famous. Unable to escalate the issue further, Sang-guk asked them to go eat and quickly complete their tasks, and ordered the crowd to disperse. Hyun-wook asked his squad mate Park Junmo to go ahead, as he does not feel like eating. Sang-guk wondered why Hyun-wook felt different today. As Hyun-wook turned into a remote corner, he cursed having to endure this, but it is nothing compared to what he had suffered under the traitor Gordon Tracy. He does not wish to cause any troubles in the army, or it will delay his plans to get stronger. As the metal absorption is completed, a notification appears informing him that the amount of metal he can manipulate has increased to 309 grams. As he pulled out a bunch of spoons, he acknowledged that he cannot have anyone knowing that he can level up yet. In the cookhouse, everyone was complaining about the missing spoons. As Hyun-wook began to consume the metal spoon and absorb it, Hyun-wook pulled out his bayonet. With a weight of around 140 grams, Hyun-wook would only be able to control one if he wishes to add more weight to it for greater impact. Consuming cartridges and spoons will take too much time to reach his previous levels. He looked at the structure far away and wondered if that was his only option. He has 3 days to prepare himself before he has to defeat a boss mob at level 1. He used his skills to move the bayonet in midair, excited for what is to come. 3 days later, at the 5th guard post, Hyun-wook and Park Junmo are doing their night guard duty. Park Junmo suddenly said to Hyun-wook that he had changed recently. Hyun-wook asked if he made him feel uncomfortable while he was checking the time on his watch. Looking at the system notification, Hyun-wook had already increased the weight of metal that he can control to 1,359 grams after 3 days of preparation. Park Junmo said that the change was for the better. Hyun-wook then asked if he trusts him. No. After he said yes, Hyun-wook began to put his plan into motion. Somewhere nearby, a portal appeared and goblins began to come out the portal. They looked at the nearby military camp, prepared to ambush it. Out of nowhere, a bayonet flew at a goblin and knocked it into the ground. The bayonet then flew back to the nearby Hyun-wook, who greeted them eagerly after waiting for them for 3 whole days. The attacked goblin stood up and Hyun-wook realized he failed in his ambush, as he is still pretty weak. As the goblin charged towards him, Hyun-wook controlled the bayonet and removed the goblin's head. Upon defeat, the goblin's lifeless body fell in front of him, and a strange gemstone appeared in front of him. Hyun-wook controlled the gemstone into his mouth and consumed it, shocking the surrounding goblins. Hyun-wook had already known from his past life that this is a mana steal, which will increase his mana and help him get stronger as well. Hyun-wook is determined to eat everything that he comes across from now on to get even stronger. As he controlled his bayonet back to his side, he declared that his feast shall begin now. Earlier, back at the guard post 5, Hyun-wook told Junmo that he can sense multiple metal reactions moving right now. Junmo thought Hyun-wook could only sense metals that he can see, but Hyun-wook lied to him. Junmo thought they should report this, but Hyun-wook explained that the guys at the command center would not believe that an F-class can sense an unidentified entity that he couldn't see. Junmo then asked what they should do. Hyun-wook suggested that he would go check, while Junmo continues to stay here, in the guard post, and under no circumstances should he report to the superiors. Hyun-wook did not want them to be involved, as they may claim all his battle loot. Facing the incoming goblins, Hyun-wook controlled his bayonet and launched them at the goblins. Hyun-wook dodged all the goblins' sword swings and controlled his bayonet to cut the Achilles tendon of the nearby goblins. Hiding above a tree, a different kind of goblin looked angrily at the situation. As the goblins with their tendons severed continued to scream out loud on the ground, another goblin swung its sword at him. Hyun-wook controlled another sword to deflect the attack. Before the goblin could react, Hyun-wook's bayonet spun quickly and slashed its throat. Upon its death, another man of steel appeared. Hyun-wook threatened to kill them all if they tried to backstab him again, as he continued to instill fear in the surviving goblins. As beings with low intelligence, Hyun-wook was able to instill fear in them to make them hesitate when attacking him. Hyun-wook continued to scan the area as he attempted to look for the boss monster, the goblin shaman who was hiding in the tree. Hyun-wook pretended to reach out for the man of steel on the floor to give it an opening to try to lure out the goblin shaman. As expected, the goblin shaman began to make his move. It pulled out a man of stone and began casting its spell. As the spell casting is completed, the man of stone broke and earth spikes began to burst out of the ground. A soldier back in the camp felt the ground shaking, but his doubts were dismissed by his superior. As the dust settled, there were only dead bodies of goblins lying on the ground, and Hyun-wook was nowhere to be found. Hyun-wook had successfully found the goblin shaman and fired a sword at it. The goblin shaman managed to deflect the sword, but Hyun-wook revealed that it was just a distraction and fired his bayonet right at its throat. However, Hyun-wook was surprised as the goblin shaman had caught the bayonet with his bare hands before it could cut its throat. Hyun-wook, who remained calm, challenged the goblin shaman that he will slice them all up. However, it was just a bluff, as the surrounding goblins were no longer in fear since their boss had appeared. Hyun-wook also had low mana after the earlier fight. Left with no choice, he released the safety trigger and aimed his gun at the goblin shaman. He is determined to kill the goblin shaman and consume them, even if it meant getting into trouble with the army. However, a voice appeared behind him. It was his squad mate, Park Jun-mo, calling out for Hyun-wook. The goblin shaman immediately ordered his goblins to attack the unsuspecting Junmo. Before the goblin reached Junmo, Hyun-wook asked him to get down, and he fired his rifle at the goblin, pushing it back. Hyun-wook then launched another sword at the goblin, but it was easily deflected. Hyun-wook then quickly rushed to the goblin and fired bullets into its mouth. Just as he turned around to prepare to engage the rest of the horde, they had already escaped using the portal. Hyun-wook realized the shaman is more cautious than he thought. The command center asked for a status report through the walkie-talkie as they had heard the gunfire. Hyun-wook answered and said that the 5th post had discovered a gate within the area and goblins had appeared but had left the current area after the first skirmish. Luckily, they have 0 casualties for now, as he looks over at the frightened Junmo, who is trembling on the ground. The command center then ordered the 5th post to defend their post. Hyun-wook then realized that she is going to arrive soon. AMT's paladin, Lieutenant Co. Yoonha. Once she arrives, it will be like Hyun-wook's past life, and she will stop the gate and take all weapons and become the military's belongings. This will include the legendary item, Adamantium. This is the item that made Hyun-wook the Steel Emperor. If he missed this opportunity, the next chance to get an Adamantium will be 4 years later. By then, it will be too late, and he will end up suffering the same fate as before. He will need to finish this battle before the standby team arrives. Hyun-wook analyzed the goblins' next move, as they will be looking for a living human sacrifice and they won't risk going into the dense populated city. Before they could guess their next location, the 6th post reported their dire situation through the walkie-talkie. Hyun-wook responded and said they will help to support the 6th post, ignoring the command's order for them to defend their post. Junmo begged him to reconsider, as their disobedience would be enough for a military trial. Hyun-wook explained that the 6th post consists of archers and mages and would all die without any support. Junmo asked what he can do by himself, but Hyun-wook said he won't be alone, as he also has Junmo ask his allies. The 6th post continues to report their casualties and request for assistance. The command center informed that the rapid response unit had departed and ordered the 6th post to guard the post with their lives. However, the situation is dire, and they might not be able to survive till then. Horde of goblins are banging on the guard post, attempting to break through the barrier. The soldiers inside feared that the barrier would not last long, and wondered if the reinforcement could arrive. They then realized that the outside got quiet all of a sudden. A bunch of debris and rocks began floating around the guard post. As the goblin shaman broke his magic stone, the rocks began to slam against the guard post. The 6 guard post soldiers realized that they were being attacked by a boss monster. They knew that they intended to capture them alive and raise them to their altar and take out their hearts while alive to complete their ritual. The injured soldier contemplated ending his life right now for a quick, painless death. As the goblin shaman is about to launch a second wave of attack, they hear from the walkie-talkie that someone is here to help them. Hyun-wook asked the archer to load the bow and shoot the arrow at the light outside. He reminded him to use the fire skill when loading the bow. Even though the archer followed the order, he wondered if a single archer would be able to make any differences. While waiting for a signal, he then saw a light flashing. It was Hyun-wook who used his flashlight as a signal while being on top of a goblin. Hyun-wook then used his skill to fire the trigger, and the fire arrow began to fly in his direction. Hyun-wook jumped out of the way just before the arrow arrived to hit the goblin in the chest and exploded. Hyun-wook intends to use this strategy to save his mana by using the archer's destructive power. As the goblin shaman fired the rocks at Hyun-wook, he easily moved out of the way. He then asked the archer to reload his bow and aim at the light again. The goblin shaman looked at Hyun-wook as he continued to use the same strategy to kill off more goblins. Nearby, Private Park Jun-mo was moving slowly in the bush. He was instructed to find the goblin shaman, but was worried that he would die as soon as he sent a signal. He looked at the battle even though Hyun-wook said he will only distract them. It seems like he is finishing the whole gate on his own. Just then, a goblin saw Park Jun-mo and swung its sword at him. Before he was hurt by the goblin, Hyun-wook's bayonet deflected the sword. Hyun-wook swiftly arrived at their location and continued to use the flashlight and firebow method to defeat the attacking goblin. Park Jun-mo is stunned at Hyun-wook's fighting ability and wonders if he is still the same Corporal Lee Hyun-wook. Hyun-wook wondered when the goblin shaman would appear, as he had been killing many of his underlings. Hyun-wook's mana has reached a new low point of only 12%. Hyun-wook suddenly heard Park Jun-mo's voice on the walkie-talkie, begging for his help. The goblin shaman had grabbed hold of Park Jun-mo and was holding him hostage. Park Jun-mo apologized as he had really tried. As Hyun-wook summoned his bayonet back to his side, the goblin shaman pressed his staff closer to Park Jun-mo's throat. Left with no choice, Hyun-wook released control of his bayonet and made the gesture to surrender as the rest of the goblins surrounded him. As the goblins were about to launch their attack at Hyun-wook, Hyun-wook said, "This is all thanks to Park Jun-mo that this is checkmate." With that, he controlled the trigger of Jun-mo's rifle that was aimed directly at the goblin shaman's stomach, firing bullets at him. Hyun-wook then immediately got out of the goblin's attacks as he continued to charge toward the shaman's direction. He called out to Park Jun-mo and was relieved to hear his response back. He then continued to chase the goblin shaman and launched his bayonet at its back, and it was blocked by his leather armor. At this point, Hyun-wook's mana only had 9% left. The goblin shaman was rushing towards the portal, attempting to escape. Hyun-wook was too far behind to catch up to the goblin shaman. However, just as the goblin shaman is about to reach the portal, he realized that the goblin shaman had made a necklace with a few bullets on it. He then used his remaining mana to strangle the goblin shaman with its bullet necklace and sent his bayonet to land the killing blow. With 0% mana remaining, Hyun-wook realized that the current body is too weak and is determined to train it to become stronger after this. Just then, a beam of light appeared in the sky. It was the Holy Light, signaling the arrival of the Paladin and the Rapid Reaction Squad. Hyun-wook continued to dig into the shaman's body to find the legendary item. As he just dug out the adamantium from the goblin's body, they have arrived. The soldiers asked Hyun-wook to put his hands up and turned around. By then, Hyun-wook had just put the adamantium in his mouth. As he turned around to report his name and rank, he had already swallowed the adamantium, and all that was left was the goblin blood surrounding his mouth. As they carried Hyun-wook up with a stretcher, Lieutenant So Yun-ha checked the surroundings. With the portal still open, she suspects that the enemies are still around. She was surprised that 4 soldiers could defeat the boss monster by themselves, and soon realized a bigger mystery. She realized that the goblins all had similar wounds and were the works of one man. The system notification popped up, informing Hyun-wook that he had consumed a legendary item. As the item is enchanted, he will develop magic skills similar to the enchantment. Hyun-wook began to laugh on the stretcher after he saw the notifications, relieved that he had finally achieved his goals. Yun-ha was surprised that he was laughing in a situation like this. Hyun-wook would also receive a rare ability and can now detect all metals within his range of control. He finally got back his skill and can feel the resonance of the metals around him. He declared his triumphant return as the Steel Emperor, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After a few days, the soldiers had already heard of the rumors that a F-ranked had defeated the boss mob by himself. The rumor suggested that the 6 post workers were just hiding in the guard post until a F-ranked corporal appeared and sliced up all the goblins. They all couldn't believe that a F-ranked can do all that. Nearby, Sergeant Sang-guk was interrogating the archer from the 6th guard post, Private Park In-il, demanding the truth of what happened the previous night. The other private also began to taunt Park In-il to keep his salute up. Sang-guk then turned to him and asked if he could do a gate raid with 3 other soldiers. Private Lee Won-suk, known as the next-term ace with barbarian traits, replied that this is impossible. They did not see the 6th post workers defeating the boss mob themselves and guessed that it could just be a final attack by some goblins who fell behind from the herd. Sang-guk then said sternly that if an F-ranked went wild, it would become a military discipline issue, and it will be something that they have to fix. Lee Won-suk eagerly agreed with this suggestion as well. Back at the battalion commander's room, Hyun-wook reported to the battalion commander upon his request. He hated that they still wanted to question him, despite the incident ending well. Paladin Seo Yun-ha and Wizard Lieutenant Lee Min-hae were in the office as well. The battalion commander lieutenant, Major Kim Kang-seok, asked if Hyun-wook was the one who disobeyed the order to stay put and forcefully repelled the first round of the gate. Hyun-wook prepared his answer carefully as one mistake, and he might end up in a military trial. Hyun-wook replied honestly and said that he seized the gate while on duty and responded immediately. Commander Kim Kang-seok said he read the report but couldn't understand how a F-ranked could have survived the attack, exerting an intense pressure just from his questioning. Hyun-wook knew that if stepped back here, his military life would be over. He then told the commander that he felt wronged and scanned by the commander. Lee Min-hee scolded him for speaking to the battalion commander this way, but was stopped by the commander as he asked Hyun-wook why he said that. Hyun-wook eagerly replied that there was something that he emphasized every training, something that he said without fail each time. He always said that no matter how low ranked they are, as long as they follow AMT's teaching, even an E-rank can face trolls. According to his teaching, F-ranked like Hyun-wook would struggle against trolls, so fighting goblins shouldn't be impossible. He further explained that although he did go against command's order to wait, if he hadn't gone to support the 6th guard post, all of them would have been killed. Hyun-wook believed that he had given a rational reason and would now attack emotionally. He then quoted the commander, "For a true soldier, there are no ranks. Prepare for the worst and fight with your all." Hyun-wook said he had followed the teachings as a soldier under the battalion commander that he respected greatly. He continued to explain with great passion that he took what he learned from the difficult training to heart and helped the 6th post by putting his life on the line. The only reason why he could endure his military life while being mocked as a lowly F-ranked was because he felt the true military mindset from the battalion commander. To see the results of the battle being denied by the battalion commander made him feel his entire military life being denied. Hence, he felt scammed. Battalion Commander Kim Kang-seo, right when he was appointed as 2nd lieutenant, the gates began opening. He almost died in a fight against the orcs, but returned to the army without hesitation and became an early foundation member of the AMT. In other words, he is a soldier down to the bone. After hearing Hyun-wook's passionate speech based on his own teachings, how could he send Hyun-wook to the military trials? As Kim Kang-seo came forward and grabbed Hyun-wook by his shoulders, he asked if that was indeed his belief. In a surprising turn of event, he told Hyun-wook that he is now a non-commissioned officer. At the same time, he had completed the absorption of the adamantium metal and obtained a new skill, Steel Physique. He is now able to strengthen a part of his body with this new skill, and it can be improved by consuming more high-hardness magic metal. This result surprised everyone present, including Hyun-wook. A few days later, at the training room, Hyun-wook was exercising while wondering how he got into a bigger mess just to avoid being sent to the guardhouse. He recalled Lee Min-hee's objections as no F-ranked has become a non-commissioned officer in AMT before. Thanks to his persuasion, Hyun-wook was able to buy some time by saying that he will think about it. He had wanted to live a low profile to avoid attracting any further attention. Suddenly, Lee Won-suk appeared behind him and asked if he was done with the bench, even though there were many other empty ones next to them. He taunted Hyun-wook and said that he would be embarrassed if the famous person from their unit is only lifting this much weight in the gym. The commotion attracted the attention of the nearby crowd. Sergeant Sang-guk and his goons were nearby, and it was obvious that Lee Won-suk was sent by him to embarrass Hyun-wook. Hyun-wook knew that if he back off now, Sang-guk will start to openly bully him like he did in his last life. Although he had just decided to stay under the radar, he had no choice but to stand up for himself now. He then issued a challenge to Lee Won-suk to spar with him. This caught everyone by surprise. Everyone in the bunk heard of this private match and all went to gym to watch. As they are preparing for the sparring match in the ring, Lee Won-suk promised to teach Hyun-wook a lesson. The crowd had already gathered around the sparring ring, and Lee Won-suk kick-started the match with a punch towards Hyun-wook. At the entrance of the military base, a visitor was surprised that Choi Yun-jun went on vacation. He was disappointed as Choi Yun-jun had the talent to be a sword saint, and he wanted to see for himself. The visitor was none other than Warrant Officer Chon Mung-go, the Black Tiger unit's tactical instructor. The Black Tiger is AMT's most elite special forces unit. The soldier told Warrant Officer Cheon that while Sergeant Choi Yun-jeon is the current ace, there is another soldier who has the potential to be the next ace, and he even has the barbarian trait. The soldier told Warrant Officer Cheon that he should not leave empty-handed and should just go take a look. Back at the sparring ring, Hyun-wook was easily dodging Lee Won-suk's punches. He was pushed to the corner of the ring by Won-suk. Before Won-suk could land a decisive punch at Hyun-wook, Hyun-wook was able to row out of the corner to avoid the punch. He then taunted Lee Won-suk to continue his attack with a gesture. As Lee Won-suk prepared for another round of attack, the soldier had brought Warrant Officer Cheon to the sparring right. He said that the stage has been set and this was a perfect opportunity for an audition. As the soldier asked him about his opinion about Lee Won-suk, Officer Cheon said that his punches are powerful, but these all mean nothing if he couldn't land any of them. The soldier remains convinced that if he could land it with more experience, it will be a grand slam. Sung-guk was unhappy with the progress of the match and asked Lee Won-suk not to go easy on Hyun-wook. The crowd was unhappy as well as many believed it would be an easy match for the future ace. Lee Won-suk had not been going easy on him as he had felt that his body was very heavy for some reasons. As it turns out, Hyun-wook had been controlling the metal within Lee Won-suk's boots. This made him feel like he was fighting in a swamp. With his movement restricted, he could not hit Hyun-wook with his punches. Lee Won-suk asked for a timeout as his body felt strange. Hyun-wook taunted him further, and it enraged him, causing him to use his skill, body strengthening, and entered in a berserker mode. Hyun-wook remained unfazed as he prepared for the upcoming fight. Warrant Officer Cheon was surprised at the use of body strengthening, as this was already outside the domain of a normal sparring match. However, he was even more surprised at Hyun-wook's calm demeanor. It was like watching a match between an angry buffalo and a leopard who has its fangs hidden. He was beginning to enjoy this exciting match. Lee Won-suk promised to end the match with one punch and charge at Hyun-wook quickly. His punch was so powerful that it sent Hyun-wook flying into a corner of the ring. The crowd began cheering for Lee Won-suk, but Lee Won-suk felt strange as he felt the impact as though he was punching steel barefisted earlier. This was because Hyun-wook also had a body strengthening skill that allowed him to turn a part of his body into steel. Hyun-wook continued to taunt Lee Won-suk and called him a pig. Lee Won-suk was even more enraged by the insults and charged at Hyun-wook. As he missed another swing at Hyun-wook, Hyun-wook had already moved to his side and, with a strengthened leg, kicked Lee Won-suk at the back of his knees, causing him to collapse. Hyun-wook then continued to punch at the fallen Lee Won-suk, shocking the crowd, including Sung-guk. Warrant Officer Cheon looked at the match eagerly as Hyun-wook had finally shown his fangs. Knowing that he has bit his neck, Warrant Officer Cheon does not expect Hyun-wook to let it go easily. However, Lee Won-suk recovered and grabbed Hyun-wook high in the air. He said that he does not know what tricks Hyun-wook used, but he intends to end the match right away. Lee Won-suk then attempted to throw Hyun-wook into the ground. We then wonder how our MC, Hyun-wook, would get out of this mess. In a split-second response to imminent danger, Hyun-wook executed a flying armbar, swiftly locking up Lee Won-suk's arm and elbow. Lee Won-suk stopped his punch as if he had landed it. He would have broken his own hand. Warrant Officer Cheon was impressed that he had better battle instincts than expected. Warrant Officer Cheon doubted Hyun-wook's ability to defeat Lee Won-suk, who had enhanced his body with strength-enhancing techniques. He questioned whether he had overestimated Hyun-wook's prowess. Lee Won-suk cursed at Hyun-wook and attempted to punch him with his other arm. However, Hyun-wook had loosened his grip and escaped his grasp before the punch landed. He then turned to Lee Won-suk's back to choke his neck. Lee Won-suk attempted to use his strength to pull Hyun-wook off him, but without his knowledge, Hyun-wook had also strengthened his arms with his new skill. This caused Lee Won-suk to be surprised that he couldn't overpower Hyun-wook with his pure strength. Hyun-wook faced additional challenges due to his low rank, struggling as he pushed his skill beyond its usual limits, resulting in a warning. The two began their battle of stamina. The onlookers asked Sergeant Sung-guk if they should stop the fight as they knew Lee Won-suk wouldn't tap out. Hyun-wook stares intensely at Sung-guk, hoping that this would serve as a warning for him, frightening Sung-guk. Lee Won-suk was not willing to lose to AF ranked and be humiliated in front of others. After all, he is the future ace. To everyone's surprise, he successfully activated body strengthening for the second time. An impressive feat, however, it would mean nothing if he couldn't get out of the chokehold. Warrant Officer Cheon eagerly looks at the match to see who is the ultimate winner. After a grueling battle of stamina, Lee Won-suk finally succumbed, collapsing from exhaustion. Warrant Officer Cheon was glad to see his prediction is correct and knew Hyun-wook is the real deal and the ultimate beast. As the crowd checked on Lee Won-suk, they were relieved that he was just unconscious. Park Jun-mo went over to congratulate Hyun-wook, while Hyun-wook turned to look at Sung-guk, who was avoiding his glare. Warrant Officer Cheon then came forward to greet Hyun-wook and asked for his name. Hyun-wook saluted him and reported his name and rank while he wondered why this person was here. Warrant Officer Cheon also introduced himself as the raid tactics instructor of the Black Tiger unit and told Hyun-wook that he was very impressed with his duel. He then offered Hyun-wook his name card and asked if he was interested in joining their special warfare raid. Everyone was surprised to hear Hyun-wook being offered a position in the best troop in the AMT. However, Hyun-wook explained that he is AF ranked player. Warrant Officer Cheon said that rank is just a standard set by normal people, and they need a warrior like him. Hyun-wook is annoyed at all these people trying to lay a claim on him. Hyun-wook resisted committing to military service, viewing it as confining and fearing it would hinder his pursuit of the villain group. He took the name card and thanked Officer Cheon and said he will give it a Sang-wook saw the interaction and grew jealous of Hyun-wook. Back in the commander's office, Kim Kang-seo greeted Officer Cheon with tea as they caught up. Officer Cheon said that they are short-staffed. Kim Kang-seo said that the guilds have been recruiting and poaching after they do their best to train them. Kim Kang-seo understood that Officer Cheon is here because of Sergeant Choi Young-jin, but he is currently on leave. However, thanks to this visit, Officer Cheon was able to find a very interesting soldier. Kim Kang-seo was surprised to hear this from Officer Cheon and wondered who he was referring to. Determined to train up his weak body, Hyun-wook continued stamina training in the field late at night while Park Yoon-mo chased after him, asking how to be as strong as him. Overlooking them, Battalion Commander Kim Kang-seo stood in his office, and he began to make a call. He ordered the other party to check on what Corporal Lee Hyun-wook used to do before joining the army. He then reached an agreement with the other party on how to handle Hyun-wook. He then expressed regret to Hyun-wook for the forthcoming consequences, attributing them to Hyun-wook's allure that had sparked greed in others. Bustling streets of Itaewon, a young boy's attention was captivated by a fleeting shadow while waiting for his mother. Intrigued, he chased after the elusive figure into a nearby alley, mistaking it for a playful creature. To his dismay, the shadow revealed itself as a kobold monster, signaling the presence of a gate and the imminent threat posed by the gathering horde of monsters. Meanwhile, back in the camp, Seo Yun-ha escorted Hyun-wook to the battalion armory, where the battalion commander granted him days off and the privilege of choosing a weapon. Despite this gesture, the platoon leader still does not believe in Hyun-wook yet. Although Hyun-wook was annoyed, he does not believe that his opinion matters anymore. Seo Yun-ha thought that Hyun-wook was very smug based on his nonchalant demeanor. Based on the sword marks on the goblin, it was clear that Hyun-wook had defeated all the goblins at the gate by himself, which does not make sense to her at all. At this time, Hyun-wook had just selected a seemingly unimpressive weapon, much to Seo Yun-ha's confusion. Seo Yun-ha thought he randomly chose one to avoid her questioning and asked him to pick a proper weapon. However, Hyun-wook remained steadfast in his decision. It was called Cloud Blade that can release a wet fog. While the weapon looked trashy and useless now, in the future, Sergeant Choi Yoon-jun will be known as a sword saint with this one sword. The item's real name is actually Dark Hand of the Cloud Master. It originated from the Dangun mythology by the Cloud Master, one of the three weather gods that descended upon Earth together with the rain and wind gods. This blade is also known as the Hidden Blades amidst the clouds or the God of Thunder. Upon unleashing its full potential, its lightning power is able to raid a mid-sized dungeon by itself. With the combination of steel and lightning, Hyun-wook would be undefeatable. Unfortunately, he will be taking over the sword this time. Seo Yun-ha asked if taking that scrappy sword is too small for his achievements, but Hyun-wook said he is satisfied with this, as there is no time for him to pick another one anyway. Just then, the alarm in the camp rang, signaling the breakout of the Itaewon Gate. Hyun-wook's calm demeanor was observed by Seo Yun-ha. It was as though he was expecting it. Soon the area is already placed under lockdown, guarded by the soldiers of the Blue Flower Guild, who had sent reinforcements to help deal with this gate. The soldiers looked at their expensive equipment with jealousy. One of their equipment would be sufficient to buy a building in Gangnam. One of the soldiers vowed to get transferred to the Blue Flower Guild after his service to live a life of luxury. As Hyun-wook's support squad arrived at the scene, Hyun-wook briefed his troops that this is a cobalt gate. Even though they were small monsters, they are able to use poison needles and gas, which can sometimes result in higher casualties than fighting orcs and trolls. Hyun-wook then reprimanded one of the squad mates not to roll up his sleeves, but to questioned if they need to be so serious, since they are far from the front line and the monsters wouldn't come here anyway. However, Hyun-wook reminded him that this is not a drill, and they could be in danger and should take it seriously. Hyun-wook then reminded them to check their mask for protection against poison gas again. Another group came and mocked Hyun-wook's support squad for having a strategy meeting, and his squad mates looked demoralized by their comments. Hyun-wook reminded him that many kobolds had escaped the red zone, the area where the gate first appeared, and warned him to get his mask ready just in case. However, they did not take his warning seriously, and Hyun-wook thought that is all he could do for them. Ignoring mockery from others, he turned to his demoralized troops and told them that this is not the first time they heard these words. As they are now in the real-life situation where they could lose their life anytime, they should not lose their spirits. As the kobolds have small bodies, he instructed them to attack motion sensors in the sewers and narrow passageways. With the imminent danger looming, he then gave them 20 minutes to go set up. Hyun-wook then called Park Jun-mo. The rest of the troops all wondered why Hyun-wook was especially nervous today. As Hyun-wook looked at Jun-mo sternly, Jun-mo asked why he asked for him. Suddenly, tragedy struck as Hyun-wook fell victim to a poison needle, leaving him paralyzed and vulnerable. Poisonous gas began to spread out of the sewer's manholes. While some collapsed from the gas, others were able to put on the mask just in time. The area was engulfed in chaos as the kobolds began their attack. Hyun-wook lay on the ground paralyzed, begging for someone to save him. A boss cobalt monster began walking towards him with a dagger in hand. It had a necklace made out of human eyeballs. Seems like it is somewhat of a collector and is looking to add to his collection. In a moment of heroism, Park Jun-mo intervened and pushed the boss kobold away, saving Hyun-wook from certain death. The dagger had injured Hyun-wook's right eye, but he was still alive. As Park Jun-mo checked on Hyun-wook and tried to put on his mask for him, even as Hyun-wook asked him to run, the boss kobold came to decapitate Jun-mo in one swift move, leaving Hyun-wook filled with anguish and determination. As it turns out, that horrifying scene was but a distant memory in Hyun-wook's previous life. Reflecting on the past and a clueless Jun-mo's sacrifice, he knew today's main battle would be at the rear and vowed to save him this time. He then gave Park Jun-mo an order that he will give a signal later, and Jun-mo needs to the other squad mates and leave the operational zone. Jun-mo thought this would constitute armed desertion. However, Hyun-wook disagreed and confidently said that this is actually war tactics. As the combat squads ventured into the first red zone, they stumbled upon a warehouse teeming with cobalt monsters. Huddled within a wall of shields and magic barriers, they faced a horde of monsters that began charging towards them. Just as the first wave of monsters were able to reach their barriers and shields, the soldiers unleashed a barrage of bullets and spells at them. Back at the rear guard area, Hyun-wook's support squad diligently planted motion sensors. As Hyun-wook finished placing the sensors and tagged an area with aluminum tape, platoon leader Lee Min-wee came over to ask what Hyun-wook was doing. He saluted Lee Min-wee and informed him that he is attaching the motion sensors according to the manual and marking the relevant location with aluminum tape. However, Lee Min-wee remained unimpressed with his efforts. He said that the Blue Flower Guild is here to assist, and Hyun-wook should stop making a fool of himself over a cobalt gate. As the first platoon will start their operation in 20 minutes, as the support squad, they just need to get the detox potion ready. However, Hyun-wook reiterated the support squad's mission as relayed to them by the vice platoon commander, which is to stop the monsters that may escape from the rear from entering the civilian area. As Hyun-wook had shouted out this order out loud, it attracted the attention of the surrounding soldiers, who wondered what was going on. As Lee Min-wee looked around at the attention that Hyun-wook had attracted, he grew frustrated. He reprimanded Hyun-wook for forgetting his place just because the battalion commander showed him a bit of favor. He then pointed his finger constantly at Hyun-wook and mocked him as the only guy in the barrack who had some real battle experience, while Hyun-wook continued to shout out his own name to attract more attention. Lee Min-wee was annoyed at Hyun-wook's expression, as he had sensed a look of defiance from Hyun-wook. Just then another soldier came over to check on them. It was Sergeant Choi Seon-hae, a C-ranked mage who specialized in healing, who came over inquiring about the situation. Surprised by her presence, Lee Min-wee's demeanor shifted, masking his embarrassment with false guidance for Hyun-wook. This turns out to be Hyun-wook's plan to attract her attention to come here, as she is Lee Min-wee's weakness. All of a sudden, Lee Min-wee changed his demeanor and claimed to be guiding Hyun-wook on what a real battle is like. Embarrassed, he asked his crush what she was doing here. Choi Seon-ha then reported that the battalion commander has called for Lee Hyun-wook. Hyun-wook was surprised that Kim Kang-seo is looking for him now. Nearby, Seo Yun-ha stood at the top of the building, overwatching the empty streets with her troops from the vantage point. Surveilling with her binoculars, she saw Choi Seon-ha speaking to Hyun-wook. She encouraged Hyun-wook not to let Lee Min-wee's words get to him and offered to take over his duties to finish setting up the sensors so he could just go ahead to find the battalion commander. With no other excuses, he began to make his way to the battalion commander. He knew there was not much time left and wondered why the battalion commander was calling for him now. One of Seo Yun-ha's troops asked if it is really okay for the attack squad to just be camping here in the raid when they are under the battalion commander's direct command. However, the AMT Paladin merely said that these are the battalion commander's orders and soldiers are meant to just follow the orders given. Meanwhile, as Hyun-wook reached the temporary command post, he was taken aback to find both Kim Kang-seo and Warrant Officer Chun Mungo present. His surprise grew when Kim Kang-seo revealed his plan to put Hyun-wook to a test and appointed him to take the place of Sergeant Choi Young-jin, who is currently on leave, and serve as the temporary squad leader of the 1st platoon for the 2nd strike mission on the gate. This caught Hyun-wook by surprise, as Kim Kang-seo had never paid him any attention in the previous life, and he wondered why he was doing this now. He continued to worry as he doesn't have time for this and needs to get his act together now. Hyun-wook explained that he had only done support missions so far, and this is not even a drill. He was worried about putting the lives of the 1st platoon on the line during an actual battle. Kim Kang-seo declared that this is his order. Just then, the Delta team reported over the walkie-talkie that the boss monster had left the kobold nest and asked the 2nd and 3rd Red Zone members to be on alert. Hyun-wook knew that they would soon pounce on the rear guard team and everyone would be annihilated if he didn't get there in time. He knew he had to get out of there, no matter the cost. He then requested to speak, and the battalion commander gave permission for him to speak. Soon after, Colorado Yunha spotted Hyunwook running out of the temporary command post, racing towards his support squad. His urgent warnings about the poison gas echoed through the camp as alarms blared, signaling the activation of the motion sensors. Poison gas began emerging out of the manholes and engulfed the whole area. Hyunwook realized that the battle had already begun much earlier than he remembered, prompting him to spring into action to protect his comrades. Earlier, back at the temporary command post after receiving permission from the battalion commander, Hyunwook boldly raised a sensitive issue. He mentioned the rumors he'd heard about the battalion commander's first mission, where he allegedly lost all his platoon members. This statement surprised Officer Chon and earned Hyunwook a stern stare from Kim Kang-seo. Hyunwook continued to explain that he was shocked that the battalion commander is ordering him to join the combat squad for the sake of a test, even though he was just a lowly corporal of the so-called shitty support squad. He then questioned if the battalion commander, who Hyunwook respected very much, was considering the regular soldiers to be expendable. Kim Kang-seo was about to explain the role of the attack squad that is directly under his command in the test, but Hyunwook interrupted him. He said that if it is to follow the battalion commander's orders, Hyunwook would gladly give his life. Hyunwook found the situation frustrating as he could not just tell him directly that he can see the future. As such, he told the battalion commander that he voiced concerns over the potential casualties due to his lack of command experience. While he was grateful for the battalion commander's high expectations of him, he would rather disobey his orders if the price of that validation is the lives of his comrades in arms. Despite the gravity of his declaration, the battalion commander listened quietly. Officer Cheon warned Hyunwook that defiance during wartime is a capital offense, prompting Hyunwook to weigh his options carefully. Of course, Hyunwook knew what this meant, but he needed to go back soon, or everyone in the rearguard would die. After deliberation, the battalion commander agreed to let Hyunwook continue with original support mission for today. Before Hyunwook could celebrate this news, Kim Kang-seo warned him that like a true soldier, he will have to deal with the consequences of disobeying orders later. Back in the present, surrounded by poison gas, Hyunwook hurriedly donned his mask for protection and retrieved his cloud blade from his inventory bag. He then poured water from his canteen onto the blade to trigger the unique skill. Wet fog and the blade began absorbing the water. As he couldn't see anything due to the toxic gas, he worried that he was too late. He prayed that Junmo and the others would heed his earlier order to evacuate. Back at the rear guard, kobold monsters had emerged to launch their surprise attack on them. A soldier was stabbed by a kobold's pickaxe and began calling for Junmo's help. Hearing his name, Junmo turned over to provide cover fire for the injured soldier. This chased the monster away from the soldier. Junmo then ordered the support squad to get inside the protected military box and take the injured soldier with them. One of the troops began to grab the injured soldier and pull him to safety while others continued to provide cover fire. The young Sergeant Choi Seon-ha was trembling in fear in the corner of the military box. Junmo attempted to ask her to come to her senses, but to no avail. He then realized that she is just a 20-year-old, and this is her first real mission after appointment. Junmo hated that he was too weak himself to do anything for the support squad. Soon, as the support troops began reporting that they were running out of ammo and the kobolds continued to attack the magic barrier, Junmo wondered what he could do in this situation. He then asked himself, what would Lee Hyunwook do in this situation? Summoning his courage, Junmo retrieved his hammer from his inventory bag. As the troops reported finishing up their ammo, Park Junmo called out to the support squad while staring at his small hammer. He informed them that the kobolds are obsessed with shiny things and he will attack them to lure them away. He then asked them to use this chance to get out of this place with the vice platoon leader, Sergeant Choi Seon-ha, and the injured troops. They were all surprised by his statements. He declared that this is his order as the support squad's vice platoon leader as he raised up his hammer with sparks running through it. He echoed Lee Hyunwook's earlier comments that the Blue Flower Guild is just outside the red ground. He asked them to clench their teeth and run for their lives once he gave the signal. His sparkling hammer had begun to attract the attention of some of the kobold monsters. Park Junmo knew that his pathetic electric skills would not be able to save anyone, but was glad that he was still able to save people. He then raised his hammer up while running in one direction. The sparks attracted the attention of all the kobold monsters, and they began chasing after him. He then asked the support squad to use this chance and run away. Everyone was surprised by his actions, and the kobolds were chasing behind him. Park Junmo said that he knew this is what Hyunwook would use his pathetic power like this as well. He was confident that Hyunwook would even use him as bait. Just as the kobold monsters were about to reach Park Junmo, a swinging bayonet flew across them to stop them from reaching Park Junmo. Park Junmo then bumped into a person in front of him and fell to the ground. Hyunwook called Park Junmo a rascal as he had heard everything he just said. Hyunwook then released the wet fog from his cloud blade that neutralized the toxic gas in the surrounding area as it spreaded. Park Junmo was surprised to see him. As Hyunwook called Park Junmo, Junmo apologized as he got carried away, was not trying to imitate him. However, Hyun-wook merely thanked him for being alive and said that he did a very good job. Hearing this, Park Junmo began to tear up. Staring at the surrounding monsters, Hyun-wook said that he is proud of him. Thanks to his noble courage, Hyun-wook would be able to enjoy the feast in front of him. Hyun-wook happily declared that he will devour the feast with all he got after Park Junmo had set up such a great meal for him. As Hyun-wook unleashed his attack, his bayonet sliced through the kobold monsters with precision, preventing them from getting close. As he looked at all the monostil on the ground, he thought that they looked delicious. However, Park Junmo thought he was referring to the kobolds. Hyun-wook felt restricted as he is unable to eat them in front of Park Junmo. He scanned the horde of monsters searching for the boss kobold. Suddenly, the mark on their foreheads lit up as if they just received an order, and they looked back at the direction they came from. They swiftly turned and began to retreat, prompting Hyun-wook to realize that something was amiss. Urging Junmo to follow, he raced back towards their squad mates, fearing they were in danger. As the gas made it impossible to see from above, the attack squad were unable to assist from a distance. Seo Yun-ha ordered the attack squad to deal with any kobold that escaped the gas zone to prevent them from reaching the civilians as she put on her mask. Her troop member asked if she was going somewhere. Yun-ha noticed that Lee Hyun-wook definitely acted like he knew this was happening and said she needed to go verify something before leaping into the toxic, gas-filled area. Back with the rear guard, Choi Seo-yun-ha remained paralyzed from fear. The injured soldier was bleeding out and needed to be healed, and fellow soldiers begged her to snap out of it. Further, the military box was being torn apart. As it turned out, the boss kobold had been attacking the box while the other monsters were chasing Junmo. They were barely able to hold the box together. However, the boss kobold's spell proved to be too strong, and the box was soon torn apart. A large group of kobolds also began rushing towards them and are closing in on them. The remaining troops began to panic and thought they might really be done for this time. The boss suddenly noticed something strange. Behind its group of kobold monsters, there were two strange figures. It turned out to be Hyun-wook, who demanded them not to mess with his squad as he summoned his bayonet from above towards the boss kobold. The boss managed to block the initial attack, but the bayonet changed direction and started chasing after it, but it was able to move swiftly enough to dodge the bayonet. As the bayonet was about to hit its back, it swiftly jumped to the side. However, the bayonet was able to hit the poison gas canister that it was carrying on its back. Enraged, it continued to send signals and orders to the surrounding kobolds as the mark began to lit up again. The monsters then switched directions and jumped to both sides of Hyun-wook. They then turned to Hyun-wook and Park Junmo and took out their poison needle dart. Soon, many poison needles began flying towards them, and Hyun-wook stopped to brace for the attack. Using his blade, he sweeps all needles away to protect both himself and Junmo. Park Junmo also tried to shield Hyun-wook from the needles. Hyun-wook asked Junmo to get down as he began to use his metal control to divert the needles. As the speed of the needles were too fast for his control, he lost control of his great sword bayonet that was chasing the boss kobold, and it fell to the ground. Hyun-wook tried shooting at the surrounding kobold, but knew that it won't buy him any time as the boss kobold is literally controlling them himself. He knew that it was too dangerous to be fighting with Junmo by his side, and immediately asked him to retreat to the box. They then began running towards the box while the kobolds continued to shoot the needles at them. As Hyun-wook used his metal control to stop another wave of needles, Junmo and himself had managed to reach the safety of the military box, temporarily protected by the box's magic barrier. Hyun-wook let out a sigh of relief that they finally made it, but was surprised at the sight in front of him. The support squad were grateful to see him, while Park Junmo reported to him that Private An Min-tae had lost consciousness. Hyun-wook was confused about the situation as the healer was right in front of them. Looking at the trembling healer, Sergeant Choi Seo, Hyun-wook realized that she was having a full panic attack. He knew that, with their only healer in this state, they would soon be annihilated. He then went towards her and gave her a slap across her face. He then looked sternly at her and asked her to come back to her senses or everyone here would die. He reminded her that they are in the middle of battle right now. As Hyun-wook gave her a tight slap across her face, he asked her whether she is going to live with regret for the rest of her life. "Do you even know how horrifying a life full of regret is?" he demanded. It prompted her to snap out of her panic and attend to the injured Private An. As Hyun-wook asked about his status, Sergeant Choi explained that he had lost a lot of blood because she was late, but she will do her utmost to save him. Thanking her for her efforts, Hyun-wook asked to borrow all their great swords, vowing for payback against the kobolds. Somewhere on the highway, the owner in a luxury car heard of the unfolding events at Itaewon Station over the phone. She had a giant spider on her shoulder and had decided to pay that place a visit. She then instructed her driver to head to Itaewon. Back at the scene, Hyun-wook navigated the area, the cloud blade continuing to neutralize the toxic gas as he reached the spot marked by the aluminum tape. All of the kobolds, including the boss monster, were hiding out of sight, waiting for a good opportunity to strike. Hyun-wook had set up the boxes and sensors at the desired locations, and the aluminum tape marked the center mark of the area. The only margin of error would be the section area A that was commanded by the vice platoon leader, Choi Seona. Hyun-wook's target is the boss who was pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He then used his metal detection skill to sense all the metal in the surrounding. Any metal that he doesn't recognize out of area A has to be a kobold. He then sent the flying great swords towards those locations, and they accurately struck the kobolds in hiding. As one of the blades flew towards the kobold boss, it was stopped by its own spell. Hyun-wook had sensed the resistance from the blade and knew he had found the boss kobold. He then sent all of the blades toward the boss. To his surprise, the boss kobold burst out in anger as the blades on its head brightened up and it had managed to stop all 5 great swords in motion. The boss kobold was proud to have stopped Hyun-wook's attacks, but it annoyed Hyun-wook. He tried to summon back his blades, but they were bound by the boss kobold's magic forces. The surrounding kobolds then received orders and began to shoot out more poison needles at Hyun-wook. With no great swords nearby, he could only block the needles by raising up his hands. As all the needles struck Hyun-wook's arms, all the great swords dropped into the ground. The boss kobold then ordered the rest of the kobolds to continue their attacks on Hyun-wook and charge towards it. As it turns out, Hyun-wook was uninjured from the needle attacks. This was all credit to his body's strengthening transformation, as he had strengthened his arms before impact to block off all the needles. Hyun-wook then summoned back the nearby great swords to his side. As the horde of kobolds had completely surrounded him, Hyun-wook began to spin the great swords at high speed around himself, causing a giant tornado that swept across the whole area and slashing down all the kobolds that were caught up. As the dust settled, all the surrounding kobolds were wiped out, surprising the boss kobold. He then called out to the boss, ready to settle their score once and for all. After the dust settled, Hyun-wook wasted no time in challenging the boss Dark Mage Kobold to finish the battle once and for all. Frustrated, the boss kobold released another wave of poison gas into the air, making it difficult for Hyun-wook to see. However, he remained undeterred, declaring the futility of the boss's final struggles, as it is the only monster left. As he used his metal detection skill again, he honed in on its location. He knew that recklessly throwing daggers at him is pointless, as it will catch all of them again. He knew he had to attack carefully. After a while, Hyun-wook found it strange that it was not moving from its location at all. Suddenly, dark, magical tendrils began to approach Hyun-wook from the air at a fast speed. It was the boss kobold's skill. Hyun-wook did not have time to react, and it caught his leg and began dragging him toward the boss. The boss then dragged Hyun-wook and threw him high up in the air before dropping him, hoping to severely hurt him from the fall damage. The boss kobold began laughing, thinking that its plan was successful and it had defeated Hyun-wook. However, Hyun-wook called out to it in anger. He had managed to survive by strengthening his legs. He was enraged by the memories of the damage dealt to him in his previous life, by the kobolds and the PTSD that the boss gave him previously. The boss then braced itself for another attack. It suddenly moved at a high speed and charged towards Hyun-wook. It swiftly reached behind Hyun-wook and launched its dagger at him. Hyun-wook managed to dodge the attack, but was furious as he had always hated being backstabbed. When he swung his blade at the boss, it managed to block it, but Hyun-wook quickly followed up by strengthening his leg and stomped his feet at the boss's face, sending it flying. Hyun said he had imagined countless times taking his revenge against backstabbers like the boss since the day he regressed. He said it should be considered an honor for being the first he took down. As the mask was crushed in pieces, the boss could no longer use its magic. Hyun-wook then sent the great swords flying toward the boss, slashing it across its body.